Welcome back to the 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Noon.
Parents across the state rally together in opposition of a COVID vaccine mandate for students, many pulling kids from school today in protest. We'll have the latest from a gathering held outside the Superintendent of Schools office this morning. Remembering General Colin Powell, who passed away early this morning from complications of COVID-19. A look at his life and legacy coming up. And the parking lot of the marketplace awash in color as Via Arte returns. We'll take you to the Italian Street Painting Festival and have a look at the winning works of art. Those stories and more on this Monday, October 18th, 2021. Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us for 17 News at Noon. I'm Maddie Jansen. Parents across the state held their children out of school this morning to protest the COVID vaccine mandate for children in public schools. Here in Bakersfield, families gathered outside the Kern County Superintendent of Schools office in protest. 17's Chris Burton was at the rally and joins us in studio with more on what parents were saying. Chris.
Thanks, Maddie. Well, it was a packed house, or rather a packed sidewalk downtown this morning. Chants of freedom and USA came from a crowd so large it spilled into the street. Passing cars honked their horns as in support as a crowd of hundreds gathered outside the KCSOS offices downtown Bakersfield. The rally drew parents and students of all ages. Several protesters said that the mandate, more than the vaccine itself, was their main point of concern.
I'm not against the vaccine. I think the vaccine's a great thing, and the fact that we developed one so quick, that's great. It's beautiful. But I don't think we should be mandating it for every student in the state yet. I think it should be up to the parents to make that decision.
Among the crowd were students from high schools across the county, Liberty, Centennial, BCHS, and others. Now, some of the students said that only a handful of their peers participated in the sit-out, while others said classmates reported half-full classes. We're still working and waiting for official confirmation from school districts regarding today's attendance numbers. In studio, Chris Burton, 17 News.
Thank you, Chris. And in under an hour, a prayer gathering will be held at Silver Oak Park in Rosedale. According to a social media post, people will be getting together to intercede in prayer on behalf of children, teachers, and schools. Making news around the nation lost one of its most iconic leaders today. Colin Powell, former Joint Chiefs of Staff and Secretary of State, passed due to complications from COVID. Chris Powell reports on his death and highlights of a stellar military career.
The presidency. This is a magnificent country. I am proud to be one of its sons.
The family of Colin Powell announced his death from complications of COVID-19 on Facebook, writing that the former Secretary of State passed away at Walter Reed National Medical Center in Washington Monday morning. They added that Powell was fully vaccinated.
The world lost one of the greatest leaders that we have ever witnessed.
Powell served 2 tours at Vietnam and later became National Security Advisor to President Reagan, ultimately rising to the rank of 4-star general. Powell served as the first black chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under Presidents Bush and Clinton, before being named the nation's first black Secretary of State by President George W. Bush.
A man who was respected around the globe and who will be quite frankly, it is not possible to replace a Colin Powell. We will miss him.
In a statement, the 43rd president remembered Powell as a great public servant, remarking he was such a favorite of presidents that he earned the Presidential Medal of Freedom twice. A self-described lifelong Republican, Colin Powell endorsed Barack Obama for president twice. He called his speech to the UN making the case to go to war in Iraq with information that later proved to be false, a blot on his record.
We have sources who tell us.
Chris Pallone, NBC News, Washington.
All right, bringing it back here at home, we saw some foreign stuff falling from the skies this morning. What was that called again, Kevin?
Oh, I don't know. Rain.
Oh, that's
yes,
right. I forget.
We haven't seen it in so long. We traditionally don't see it in the month of October, but boy, it came in. Didn't bring a lot for many areas, but hey, it did wet the pavement. Let's take a look. And the other thing we've been looking at are some winds. So if you are in the mountain locations, we're still seeing some gusty winds up that way, just a light breeze here in the valley. And we do have a wind advisory through parts of the desert along the 58 until 5 o'clock this evening. So keep that in mind. This is just a beautiful picture. We're starting to see the trees turn. It is fall. We've got beautiful clouds, and we're also seeing some sunshine. That is going to continue throughout the afternoon. We're at 58 right now under a calm wind for Bakersfield, and the rain has come to an end. We're just looking at some clouds that have banked up here on the west-facing slopes of the Tehachapi's. That's typical when these systems exit. So we'll continue to shrink the cloud cover throughout the afternoon and evening. And you can see tonight we're back in the mid-50s right around 10 o'clock. Out of Tehachapi, it is breezy. You've still got plenty of cloud cover. No rain. That is all done. 41 degrees. A northwest wind, though, sustained at 24. And as we take a look at the day, you should also be looking at some clearing by the afternoon and evening. And then we're back in the 30s right around 8 o'clock tonight. We'll take a look at some rain totals. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Kev. 17 News is your local election headquarters. Assemblymember Rudy Salas announced this morning his intention to run for Congress.
I stand before you to announce my candidacy for Congress.
Salas will challenge Hanford Republican David Valadao. He joins a growing list of Democratic candidates in the running for the 21st District seat, including Delano Mayor Brian Osorio, former Assemblymember Nicole Parra, and former Dianne Feinstein staffer Angel Lara. Several activists spoke out this morning on Salas's behalf, including Dolores Huerta.
Our own Rudy Salas, somebody who grew up here, right here in the Central Valley, that has been here forever, working for all of us. You know that he was the first Latino elected to the City Council in Bakersfield in 112 years, okay? A long time. You know the one thing about Rudy, that he represents all of the constituents, everybody. Everybody from agriculture, the energy sectors, even the green energy sectors, okay? He is there for everybody.
California's primary election day is set for June 7th, 2022. Now to coronavirus here in Kern, as public health announced our latest COVID-19 numbers with 768 new cases. The county also announced they have confirmed another 10 deaths due to the virus. Currently, 214 people are hospitalized with COVID-19 in Kern County, and there are 21 available ICU beds across the county, according to state data. At least one person's dead after a head-on crash near Arvin. According to CHP, the crash was reported just before 2 this morning on Wheeler Ridge and Teal roads. CHP says a semi-truck and another vehicle collided head-on before the semi ended up in a ditch. It's unclear what led up to the crash or if drugs or alcohol were involved. 17 Crime Watch now, and a man was shot and killed in Lamont Saturday night. Sheriff's deputies say it happened in the area of Primrose Avenue and Paradise Road around 5:15. The sheriff's office says a white vehicle sped away from the scene after gunfire, but no description of the shooter is available. This brings our number of homicides this year in Kern County to 112. From our 17 News follow-up file now, another month has gone by and still no sign of missing California City boys Orrin and Orson West. A community prayer was held this weekend in Cal City. Thursday will mark 10 months since Orson and Orrin West, known as Classic and Sincere to their biological family, were reported missing by their adoptive parents. Vigil attendees expressed gratitude for supporters and to those who continue the search. The case has drawn national attention, including support from family members of other missing people out of California City.
Them coming, supporting us, we're able to support them, so it brings us together, you know, and it got us real close, and you know, we're like family.
And we want people to know that we're not silent. The case will not go cold. And we want the people in the neighborhood, if you know something, please, you know, I'm just asking if they know something, say something.
The Bakersfield Police Department is in charge of the investigation. Anyone with information on the brothers is asked to call the secret witness line at 322-4040. Bakersfield police are asking for your help finding a missing man considered at risk. BPD says 52-year-old Theodore Luis Cisco was last seen around 8:30 Saturday morning in Northwest Bakersfield. He's described as 6'4", 280 pounds, with black and white hair and blue eyes. He was last seen driving a white 2019 Ford pickup truck with a California license plate reading CBD CEO. If you know anything about his whereabouts, you're encouraged to call Bakersfield Police at 327-7111. If you're in need of a new car, you may be out of luck. A look at the supply chain challenges affecting the auto industry and when things could ease up.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
In yet another problem tied to the global supply chain crisis, massive shortages in automobile parts and supplies are wreaking havoc on the automotive industry, from dealerships to your local mechanic. NBC's Tom Costello has more from a garage in Bethesda, Maryland.
Yeah, good day. This is where the supply chain crunch that we've been talking about for months, this is where you may actually start to feel it. If you try to go get parts for your cars, there aren't enough oil filters, there aren't enough windshield wipers, brake parts, engine parts. This is a $300 billion business, but right now they're struggling to keep all the supplies in the chain. The typical used car on the road right now is 12 years old. The trouble is there simply aren't enough parts right now coming in from overseas suppliers, and you've seen all of that video of these ships out in the ocean stuck, not getting into U.S. ports. What does that mean for you? Well, it means if you need to get critical parts, they may not be around. You may have to wait for weeks, in some cases even months. It also means if you've decided that you want to just give up on your car and get another car, well, used car prices right now are up 35%. Because of the increase in demand for used cars, because there aren't enough new cars. There's a global computer chip shortage, and that computer chip shortage affects new cars. So there aren't many new cars out on the lots. What cars there are, they're charging more for. There aren't enough used cars out there. They're charging more for those. And if you need to get your car fixed, you may have to wait for parts. We're going to have much more of this throughout the day and throughout the coming weeks and months on all of the NBC News platforms. Back to you.
And making news around the world now, a notorious Haitian gang known for brazen kidnappings and killings has been accused by police of abducting 17 missionaries from a U.S.-based organization. 5 children were believed to be among those kidnapped, including a 2-year-old. Haitian police said that the 400 Mawazo gang kidnapped the group, which also included some elderly people in Ganthier, a community that lies east of the capital of Port-au-Prince. The gang was blamed for kidnapping 5 priests and 2 nuns earlier this year in Haiti. Local authorities said the gang, whose name roughly translates to 400 inexperienced men, controls the area that includes Ganthier, where they carry out kidnappings and carjackings and extort business owners. The missionaries were on their way home Saturday from building an orphanage, according to a message from an Ohio-based Christian Aid Ministries sent to various religious missions. Haiti is once again struggling with a spike in gang-related kidnappings that had diminished in recent months after President Jovenel Moise was fatally shot at his private residence on July 7th. The country is now also reeling from a 7.2 magnitude earthquake that killed more than 2,200 people back in August.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.